Hi everyone, good morning to you all. This is Britt Simon. So for those of you that are new to my channel, you will see that I will pre-record videos now and then dealing with various topics. But occasionally I also like to do these live Q&A sessions, which is intended to give you an opportunity to ask questions interactively, and that I can answer those questions for you. So Bundix, first person in. Good morning. I'm amazed, Bundix. You always seem to know when I'm about to go live. So, all right. So we're going to take questions on 2020, 2021, and 2022. No year is more important to me than other years, right? And all years, 2020, 2021, they're both affected, and 2022 will be affected also. So please, let's not try and compare which year is worse off and whether I've forgotten this year or whether, nobody's saying anything about this particular subject, let's not get into those things. So let's try and keep it positive and constructive in that way. Okay, so good morning, Luca. Where is it? Always really relieved to see you back in that chair, Luca. I don't move from this bloody chair. I work at home, so I'm in this chair for many hours a day, unfortunately. All right, so let's talk about a few things. What I'd like to do is just address DV2020 and 2021 first, and answer questions about that, because that would be ideal. And then I'm sure we're going to get some 2022. So I would say to people new to this thing, please ignore. Sorry, not ignore. Hold your questions for the time being. Wait for a few moments. Let me just cover a couple of topics, and then we can start. Right. So DV2020, people ask constantly about DV2020. The Gomez lawsuit still controls all of that. The DV2020 year, as far as the government is concerned, as far as all the embassies are concerned, is over, right? That's how the laws are written. That's the situation. They are aware, the government are obviously aware that that Judge Mehta preserved 9,095 visas, but Judge Mehta has yet to decide whether those visas that he preserved or any additional visas can be used for the year. And there is no deadline, although we had sort of rough idea, we thought, of when he would make a decision. We were hoping for a decision in April. That didn't come. We've then talked about May. That's looking unlikely. It could be June or July. We don't know. We don't know when that decision will come. Now, the date when the decision comes is frankly not important compared to the decision itself, right? So for many of you that are stressing about the date and oh my God, we've got to wait for more time for the decision. Yeah, you've got to wait. There's no choice in that. You have to wait. But what you should be concerned about is what the decision is finally. We want a positive decision. And so, that should be the main area of concern, the main concern here, not the date we get the decision on. That's irrelevant, frankly. So that's really all there is to say about DV 2020. There is nothing that anybody could do to speed that up. It's in the hands of Judge Mehta. The lawyers are continuing to push for resolution in that, and they're doing various things, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, there is no deadline on Judge Mehta. There was a suggestion that DV 2021 case, the GO case, G-O-H, GO case, would have a final hearing on July 13th, I think it was scheduled for, and that the DV 2021 decision, 2020 decision, would be included in that day. The lawyers have asked for earlier action than that, but again, let's not stress about the date. Even if some lawyers, frankly, are making a fuss about the date, forget the date. The date is not important. The decision is important. Okay. So that's DV 2020. DV 2021. What can I say? I mean, it's still badly affected. I was pleased to see that some additional embassies are starting to work. Paris, for example, accepted 48 interviews, as I understand it. There are a couple of other embassies. So I think the list of embassies that haven't accepted any cases is now down to 45 embassies out of 140. So it's getting slightly better, but none of the embassies are working at the volume that we would need to see a proper resolution for DV 2021. It's very clear, and if you haven't understood this already, I'm sorry, but it's very clear that DV 2021 is going to be badly affected by the lack of progress being made by KCC and by the embassies themselves. And the only thing that will change any of that is the lawsuits that are going on. So to talk about the lawsuits and is it worth you being in a lawsuit or not, let me put it this way: it's more than likely that we're going to see less than 10,000 visas issued for DV 2021. Being on a lawsuit will improve your chances pretty, it can't be guaranteed, but it's pretty sure that being on a lawsuit would increase your chances of being processed, being interviewed, etc. So it is, for some of you, it's going to be a worthwhile decision. The Go lawsuit was extended, so they filed some more cases on that. And Curtis Morrison is doing what he calls a big lawsuit, which to me suggests it's going to have a lot of people on it. And he plans to file that, I think, at the end of this month. So go to curtismorrisonlaw.com /DV2021, I believe it is. And you can see whether you want to participate in that lawsuit. If you don't want to participate in the lawsuit because you can't afford it, or because you don't believe you should have to pay for for a lawyer in this place, you don't have to. You can take your chances and hope that everything would be okay. But if the government don't process cases by September 30th, and it's pretty clear they won't, then you'll have to live with your decision. If, on the other hand, you're on the lawsuit, it's likely that you'll be processed within the time period, September 30th. That's what the lawsuits will do for you. But there is a chance that we might get a preservation of visas to use later, as has happened in DV 2020. But we don't know yet whether that's really going to work, because, of course, although the visas were preserved in DV 2020, Judge Mehta hasn't given any permission for those to be issued yet, right? So we don't really know if that's going to work or not. So that's really the sort of the high level for DV 2020 and 2021. For DV 2022, I'm sure we've got probably some people that are going to come on and answer questions now, and there'll be all the basic questions, answered or asked over and over again. You people in 2020 or 2021, the sorts of ways that you questioned about the process from the beginning. So I hope you'll be patient with all the new questions, as I will try to be as well. Barat says, instantly, don't forget to ask DV 2020. Apparently Barat didn't notice I just spoke about that. Now I don't believe, so Bikram is saying, I don't believe DV, it's my 5th time, never get win. Okay, so I'm sitting here in America because of the DV lottery, so I believe it. And many thousands of people each year normally get the lottery and they come to America. But you have to understand the lottery is not a plan. Your chance of selection in the lottery for Africa, Europe, or Asia is at least 1 in 100 years. I mean, it could be worse than that. In Africa, it's been 1 in 200 years in the past. Your chance of selection. So the fact that you've entered 5 times and haven't been selected, that's normal. That's average. That's absolutely normal, right? What's more surprising is that some people enter the first time and they get selected, and that happens every year. Oh, that reminds me. People have been going on my blog over the last couple of days since the DV 2020 results were announced. And they've noticed that there's a few people that have come back and said, well, I was a previous winner in DV 2020 and I've won again in DV 2022, or I won 2021 and I've been selected again in 2022. And some people have used those few responses, and there's a few of them. I'm not saying there's none, but there's a few people like that. They've used those to assume that there's some sort of preloading of winners from one year to the next, and there isn't. It's a random process. But to explain why I'm getting a few people on my blog saying that at the moment, and why it feels like it's more common. Well, if you were at 2020 and 2021, you already know about my blog. So maybe you instantly knew where to go. So the results were released on Saturday, and on Saturday and Sunday there were already people saying I've won again. It's great news. Well, congratulations to those people. But those people, it's not a fair selection, it's not a fair representation of the overall population, because DV 2022 people may not even know about my blog yet, right? So the people that you're seeing are people that are used to asking questions and making comments on my blog. So I don't think it's evidence of some sort of unfair selection process. I think that's not true. Okay, Akaki himself. Do you think merging Go with Morrison's lawsuit is a good idea, and how will it impact Go plaintiffs? I don't know whether it's a good idea, Akaki. I think it probably could happen. How can I say this? So Curtis Morrison and his team, they've built an extremely efficient, in my opinion, an efficient way to onboard clients, right? They're very good at that. They've implemented they've obviously earned a lot more money than any of the other lawyers out of this process, right? And what they've done with that money is that they've hired people. They've got people who speak various languages. They've got people in all sorts of places. Those things will be advantageous to their clients. The fact that lots of people are giving their money to Curtis Morrison and team means that Curtis Morrison can either go buy a Ferrari for him and Raphael, and he probably will, or he can do as he is doing, and that's reinvest that money into the infrastructure, right? And that infrastructure is going to be helpful for people going through the process, because there will be representatives of the Curtis Morrison team that will be able to contact the embassies, speak in the local languages, speak to you in your local language, etc., and that will all be helpful, right? Let's not be shy about this. Curtis Morrison and team have collected hundreds of thousands of dollars of fees already, hundreds of thousands, probably over $1 million. So they've already had very high volumes of people coming on board. So they're very good at that. Now, in terms of who's been good at arguing the cases in front of the court, I actually feel like the other group of lawyers, Greg Siskin, Charles Cook, etc., I actually feel they've done a better job. I think Charles Cook in particular has been extremely good in front of the judges, etc. So to go back to your question, Akaki, they will both offer bits and pieces, right? And it's a good thing if they're combined in a sense. So, if we've got we've got Charles Cook arguing and Curtis Morrison, Raphael, etc., in the background, communicating to plaintiffs and maybe feeding some of the background information, that's a good team, right? And I'm sure probably not thrilled to hear me talk like this, but I would say that would be a good team. I would rather have both of them on my soccer team than just one or the other, right? So if they're combined, then frankly the benefits of both systems, of both sets of lawyers, will be helpful for everybody. But I do think, as I say, I think purely from a who's the best lawyer point of view, who's the best arguer, etc., I tend to go with Charles Cook and team. In terms of who's made the best infrastructure, rapidly spun up this infrastructure to be able to cope with the lots of people coming on board. Clearly, Curtis Morrison and team have done that. And it's to their financial benefit. That was their strategy from the beginning, and they've done very well at it. I'm certainly not going to criticize that. That's a good thing for them and for their clients. You know, but the Gomez case demonstrated how lawyers could combine on different cases. It did slow things up a little bit, but it also did help in getting a good result. Okay, hope that answers your question, Akaki. Can I change interview location to the USA after getting to the USA by F1 visa? Yes, you can do that. There are some downsides of that, some risks of that. I've discussed them in previous videos, but yes, somebody theoretically can do that in normal times. Like in previous years, I've been telling people not to do that because there are some risks involved in that could cause a problem. Whereas at the moment, everybody in DV 2020 and 2021 is at risk anyway. So, you know, if you're in a burning building, you don't stop to sort of check the fire safety rules about how to leave the building. You jump out the bloody window, right? You get on with it. So if you're in DV 2021 and you have the ability to enter the USA and maybe, you know, move your case to adjustment of status, then go ahead and do that, but do it immediately because you're running out of time. Okay, so but can you do it? Yes. If you're DV 2022, then and you're going to go to the USA anyway because of F1, then yes, you've got more time. You could do that later, but take your time with it. Don't rush it. Don't ruin your case for the sake of being too fast with things, right? Mustafa is saying, my question, the result of the DV 2020 change or not up to 30th September? Okay. This is a commonly asked question about an additional draw. Okay, so the results were released on Saturday. People have checked, and lots of people, many more people than are selected, see the "you have not been selected" message. And the question is, will that message change? Well, it might do. One time, it might do. It doesn't make sense for you to check it every day this week. It's not going to change this week or next month or anything like that. It's not going to change in that time. There are a few years where they add additional selectees in about September, sometimes October. If the original selection is a very low number, let's say less than 80,000 people roughly, then there's a chance they might add another 10,000 people or so in a second draw that happens in September, October. There's not much chance of that. It does happen in some years, and it's a small draw compared to the bigger draw, right? But there will be, perhaps a few cases added. So what I say is, okay, you checked on Saturday, you saw you haven't been selected, put that number away again and check again in October. And there's a small chance that, maybe some cases have been added. Okay. Nakazibwe, can you use your phone to take a photo for the entry using the photo tool? Yes, you can. If you check my my videos, I demonstrate how to do that. I show exactly how to take a photo with a camera and with minimal lighting. It's simple. Anyone can do it. You don't have to pay someone to take a professional photo. Okay. Let me just answer this one. It says, serious question, Manchester City or Chelsea? Soccer's a girls' game. I'm more of a rugby player, so I talk about soccer sometimes, but I'm not really that bothered with it. But if I really were put on the spot, I would probably go with Celtic. So there you go. Nothing to do with Chelsea or Man City. Happy Moon Dance. Since the embassy in Sweden clearly said that they won't interview DV cases, can I contact other embassies and ask for an interview? Then ask your Iranian in Sweden. Right. The way most embassies are handling it right now for DV 2021 is that they're saying they will only handle local cases. It is not the position where you have a very quiet embassy that's very big and sitting there doing nothing, and they're all working, right? And they're just waiting for that work. all the embassies are sized based on what happens in that area, right? So the very largest, busiest embassies like Paris or like London, for example, they're big embassies. They've got a lot of capacity, but that's not going to be the same for other countries, right? And so those other countries, the embassies in the other countries, can't suddenly take all of the overflow from all of the neighboring countries. And so what they've said is the embassies are generally saying we're only taking local applicants, which leaves you screwed, frankly. There's no other way of putting it. So you're not going to get an embassy adjacent to Sweden or anywhere else really that says, yeah, just come on by. It's not going to happen. I mean, you can ask, you can try, but generally I don't think it's going to work. Prior to your interview being scheduled, you can ask KCC to schedule you at a different embassy. But generally, again, they're not going to do that. They are going to try and keep people on their, in their embassy areas. And it's based on not your selection, by the way. It's based on where you live. It's if you live in Sweden, then they expect you to go to the embassy in Sweden. And so what it means is it's going to be a very unfair situation. But if an embassy like Sweden still refuses to do anything, then it's just going to be bad luck for the people in Sweden. That's how it's going to be. Now, you're saying you're Iranian. I can't tell from your name if you're a male or female, but if you're a male Iranian applicant, you're already probably too late in the game, because the security and background checks for male Iranians can last several months. And you're almost certain to, if you were interviewed, you would be put on AP for some months and you would time out. Once it goes past September 30th, you're done. You can't get your visa at that point. And so you'd probably time out. So I'm afraid, Happy Moon Dance, you're not going to be dancing very happily. But my advice is you're probably not going to get your visa, honestly. Obviously, you should continue to try, do everything you can, but you have to be realistic as well. Sorry to tell you that news. Hamza, biggest number for interviews in June is 9,700 till now. So we can expect numbers about 20K at the end of fiscal year and 21K. There's no way we can guess that. You're putting, you're putting numbers together because you want to believe that, right? But it doesn't really, there's no real technical reason why they should get to 20 or 25 or 15 or any other number, right? It's a complete, I wouldn't say mystery, but I can't predict any of it. There's nothing predictable about this. So, if you want to guess that you're going to be okay or not, that's up to you, but I can't give you a guess that's more accurate than your guess. Your guess is as good as mine. Does Go versus Blinken help for case number 43K? Maybe. I do think, as I said earlier, lawsuits will help some cases. DV2021 question, what do you think of the AOS processing chances by the deadline? I did AOS myself, DV lottery-based adjustment of status. My case was filed in June from memory, and I got my case processed by September. And actually, mine was pretty slow by DV lottery standards. It could have been done faster. 2 or 3 months is enough time for adjustment of status, but that means you need to be filing, pretty quickly now. Most of the field offices actually do process DV lottery cases pretty fast. Okay, Saint Sent, I hope you're not going to be one of these people that keeps repeating the same question over and over again. It annoys me and everybody else. So don't do that anymore. Right? I've answered your question. Mr. Robert, DS260 gives such error while I'm filling the form. Oops, a number of people since the weekend have been going into their DS260 to start their process, and they say that they see this message: your request cannot be processed at this time. I think what's happening is that the servers, the application or the web application is overloaded, right? And maybe there's some technical problems as well. And so what I would say to you is just forget it for a few days. This is an 18-month process. You don't need to do everything in day 1 and day 2, right? Forget it for a few days, come back in a few days' time and try again, and don't give yourself the stress. Okay, so if you see that message, just walk away, have a cup of coffee, do something else for 2 or 3 days, and come back in a few days' time, and hopefully it will be fixed at that time. Luther, do we still have hope of being interviewed in the next 3 months? I'm from Liberia, and so far nobody is appointed for interview. So there's always hope, Luther, right? And some cases, you know, if Liberia do any cases at all, maybe they'll do some. I just can't tell you if your case, and no matter what your case number is, it doesn't matter. I can't tell you if your case will be one of the lucky ones, right? So hope, there's a saying that I hear from many of you, hope dies last. You know, and so you just have to keep on hoping, right? Speaking of hope, any hope for, oh, this is interesting, so 2022 AS30XXX. Any hope for that? Now, about 2022 case numbers, I don't know yet what the maximum case numbers are. I don't know how many people have been selected. I can make educated guesses based on case numbers, and I can tell you that AS30,000, yeah, that's going to be a high number, right? And it's a high number in a difficult year, but you know, it could be possible. I don't know for sure whether that will go through or not. We'll have to wait and see. So you know, we'll know more in a couple of months. So we will get the, just so you know, we're going to get the numbers of people selected by country in a couple of visa bulletins time, right? And you know, we'll see the information, and then we'll know people selected by country, and also people, how many in total in the world have been selected. And so then we can start to make some sort of educated guesses. By that time, we'll have a decent idea also of what people are reporting as the highest case numbers, and we learn more and more and more as the year goes on. Then in January 1st of next year, we'll have access to all of the SEAC data, which is the data for all of the cases. Some of you may not know, a few days ago, up until a few days ago, there was a several-day outage on SEAC, and some of you that are aware of the data that's published by Save Diversity Visa, you know, he was publishing data, but for several days noticed that the 2NLs were not updated, the cases weren't going into in transit and that sort of thing. And what I explained to him by email was that has happened before, and it's generally when the new cases for DV2022, the new year, are being loaded into SEAC. That then cleared about 4 or 5 days ago, and so all that data was in there. Basically what that means is the DV2022 cases are already in SEAC, but you can't access them yet. We can't access them, and you can't access them. But they are there. What happens, the stupidest thing in the world, speaking as a software architect, stupidest thing in the world is what they've done, where we can only check the cases from midnight on January 1st, you know, or midnight on December 31st, the numbers suddenly reveal themselves. And it's not that they've loaded them in at that point, it's that the date parameters are set that way. It's stupid. But that's the government programmers for you. And so we only access that data from the beginning of next year. So we'll only get the full picture at that point. Until then, Sofique, is it Sofique? Yeah. Until then, Sofique, you have to just sort of wait and see. And you'll hear me saying those 3 words, wait and see. You'll hear me saying that a lot, I'm afraid. Okay, Marlin. At 2020, got documents correct, was waiting for an interview date. What will happen with me? You'll have to wait for Gomez. Mustafa, already answered your question. Mariette, I'm a plaintiff in Go, AS 11,000, winner. Oh, and so here's one of the cases earlier. So you've got an AS 1600, you know, well, one way or the other. You know, I don't know which of your cases will go through, but one way or the other it will go through. The question that people are asking where they've been selected again is, can they submit their DS260 for the other new case? And yes, you can, absolutely you can. you can have both of those applications going at the same time, and you just see which one works first, right? And luckily for you, if the Go case doesn't help you, you've got a low number in the next year and you can process that. So congratulations. Okay. So this is an interesting, so I was telling you earlier, you would be, struggling. This is kind of an illustration of what I was saying earlier with the burning building, right? If you've got the ability to do that, then, you can try. The building is on fire. You're not going to get your visa. Your Iranian nationality is going to slow you down. And you may decide to take the complete wild gamble to go to the USA and try and process. That's up to you. But bearing in mind that it's going to be difficult for you to survive while you're here. So you have to be able to be here for several months without working. You must not work. You must not break any rules, right? Because that will screw your situation up. So, you'll have to be here, and it's difficult. You have to be here and just wait. And it may pay off, it may not. So it's really up to you. Can you put your life on hold for probably 3 or 4 months while this all goes through? It's up to you. Answer that. Oh man, here we go. Can I talk about F4 visa? No, I don't advise anything about any other type of visa apart from DV lottery. That's my only area of interest or expertise. I don't know anything about F4. Okay, sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't know anything about it. Simon, how come the lawsuit in DV 2020 was pro bono and a class action, but 2021 is paid and covers specific people? Pro bono means free. And whilst I do all of this that I do for free, not everybody can afford to work endlessly for free, right? Lawyers, the legal teams do what they can for free. That's part of their sort of their professional body's advice to them. They have to do some work for free, but they can't endlessly work for free. Do you work for free? Whatever job you do you go around helping people constantly every day of the week, all the time for free? Do you spend a year of your life working for somebody else for free? Probably not, right? At some point, people have got to get paid, especially where those people are paying other people to do things, right? So we saw from the very beginning 2 different strategies. Curtis Morrison and team went in with a paid strategy from the very beginning. They didn't do anything pro bono. Even when they wanted to do some government lobbying, they expected people to contribute towards that, and they put some of their own money in. But when I say their own money, that came from other people paying the money, right? So they didn't do anything for free. Whereas Charles Cook and Greg Siskind and Jeff Joseph, they did a lot for free, a lot. Right, many hours, cost them thousands and thousands of dollars in paying other people on their teams, helping them to do that, distraction of their business, etc. At some point, they have to make money, right? Come on, we're all adults. We understand how the world works, right? Why shouldn't they make some money? Why shouldn't they charge for their services? They're entitled to do so. You may not understand that the average lawyer comes out of law school after several years of studying with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. They spend a lot of money on their training. They're entitled to get money back later. And as I say, if you don't agree with that, well, I'm sorry, I think that's a naive position. King of the North Saidi. Brett, my uncle just got to know that we were selected on DV 2021. They want to submit the DS260 now. I know it's funny, but sad reality is this. So any chances AS 9000? There's lots of people that are already not getting their case processed. I would say, and I've seen your name before, so I'm not quite sure why you're saying they just got to know about it. But basically, they're running out of time, or they may already have run out of time. If they haven't submitted their DS260 right now, until now, maybe they should just forget about it and move on with life. But I can't stop you telling them, to submit it. They can try. It's just probably not going to work. Okay. My case number is EU189XX, but not received a scam request. What's the scan request? I don't know what a scan request is. If you're talking about the documents, if you haven't sent your documents yet, you're probably not going to get anywhere, right? Come on, guys. I've been saying for months, you've got to send your documents. Whether you've been asked for documents or not, you should have sent your bloody documents by now, right? For months I've been saying that. What on earth are people thinking? So anyway, you can, if you haven't sent documents, send your documents now, because why not, right? But whether you'll get interviewed or not, I don't know. It's worth, even at this point, and back to King of the North, it's worth inputting your cases, because maybe there might be some sort of preservation of visas at the end of the year, but we don't know that for a fact. But you may as well process your case, both of you. Send in your documents, send in your DS260, but I don't know whether it will work or not. Luther, has there been instances where a single selectee did not get interviewed in OADT TV? Has there been instances where a single selectee, are you making the point about a single selectee not married, or are you saying where someone hasn't been interviewed? I mean, there's tons of cases where people don't get interviewed. This is not a guarantee. Many people have lost out, right? I mean, if you're a DV 2022, Luther, you only have to look at the questions being asked by 2021 selectees and 2020 selectees who are stressed out of their minds because they are not getting the interviews that they should be entitled to. So there's tons of examples of people being disappointed. And the 2020 and 2021 are terrible years, because of the COVID crisis and because of Trump's bullshit, frankly. But even before that, there have been people who've missed out. Yeah, absolutely. What kind of decision by Judge Mehta do you think can leave go plaintiffs uncertain whether they get? Well, I don't know. I can't predict what Mehta is going to decide, and your question is worded in such a way that's sort of complicated to answer anyway. So I don't know what he can decide. Yeah, I think I'll just move on. Yusuf, filling out education level different from the previous form, would it be a problem? No, so on the original entry form, you were asked to give an education level. Are you university, you've got a university degree, you're high school educated, and then the DS260 has a similar question. If those two are inaccurate, either of those questions, if they're inaccurate or if they don't match, it makes no difference to your case at all. What's important is that you are factually honest on the DS260. The question about what education level you're on in the entry and on the DS260 is purely for demographic collection of information, so that they can say, of the 25 million entries, 70% were educated at high school level at least, or whatever. It's just demographics. It's got nothing to do with the validity of your application. Okay, so ignore that question. Dirk Harvey. I sent my documents to KCC quite some time ago, but did not get feedback from KCC. Okay, you need to ask them if they're satisfied with your documents. They will probably ignore your request, or they'll send you just a silly letter. But you should still ask them. Just, it might prompt them to do something on your case. You have to do what you can do. Bruce Lee. Are you the Bruce Lee from the movies? That was my karate chop, you see. Yeah. Sorry, some people like my sense of humor, some don't. My case is DV2021 from Taiwan, AS286X. I'm on F1 student visa. I've already sent my documents to KCC and joined the Go case. Would you recommend me to change to AS instead? Yes, you should have done that, Bruce Lee. You should have changed to AOS, frankly. Adjustment of status didn't have any restrictions, hasn't had for all this time that Trump's been doing all this bullshit. And although field offices were closed for a while, they reopened fairly quickly. And the COVID situation is more under control in most of America than it is in other countries. So yeah, you probably should have moved on to AOS. There's still time. So, you can go and do that. Blanca, I I wasn't selected this time and have a relatively high number in 2021. We'll try again in October. The photo is crap for DV2022, so I have to work on that. Photo is not really important. It doesn't stop you being selected generally, unless it's technically really, really bad, or you take a picture of a horse's backside or something. You know, but apart from that, the photo doesn't really stop you. But anyway, good luck for the next. You might get lucky in 2021. You know, good luck for that. Who knows what's going to happen? Abdul Kadir, how high the case number 20? When was this year? And the brothers, the two case numbers. Okay, 35. Okay, are you talking about 2022? Two brothers, both won DV 2022. That's unusual, but you know, but possible. Now, when you give me the case number and you don't give me the year, that's frustrating because I don't really know if we're talking about 2022 or 21 or whatever. But the numbers themselves are medium to high numbers, right? So we don't know exactly where the highest number is for 2022. So, but in DV 2021, AF numbers went up to mid 80s, 85,000, 86,000 or so. So 55,000 may not be the highest number. We don't know for sure where it's going to go in 2022, but it may not be the highest number. Okay, Mr. Robert, you keep repeating the same thing. Chase Dream, in this modern time, US consulate and embassy is being typical. There are many ways of processing interviews, but as you said, lawsuit is made millions, if not billions, not billions of. They've, you know, Curtis Morrison and team, yeah, they've made good money, but not billions. You know, get a calculator out. But yeah, they're being typical. I mean, it's frustrating that the embassies are not working with Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. I don't know why they haven't done that. They've had a year to figure that out. It's annoying. Questions about that? Oh, they've already answered you. Chase Dream. Ooh, you know, I don't know what that means. Happy Moon Dance. Should we rely on Go? Yeah, I already answered you. I think Happy Moon Dance. From Iraq, case number is very near AS24. You haven't got an email. Okay, tell me the year, Hava. I need to know the year. I'm just, yeah, I'm a bit worried because I'm over 40 and I read they might reject older candidates. What is your experience? Blanca, take a look at me. I'm not 20 years old. I'm a little bit older than you, and I got my green card 6 years ago. Okay, your age is fine. Don't worry about nonsense stuff. They don't care about your photo. They don't care whether you got pretty makeup on. They don't care that you're 40 years old or something. Like, stop worrying about trivialities. You're fine. And 40 is not old either. Excuse me. I'm a bit older than that. I'm not old. I'm just grey-haired and bald. Yeah. What if you applied without a passport? I'm tempted to say, well, then you're an idiot, right? I'm tempted to say that, but I didn't say that. I just said what I was tempted to say, because the instructions are very, very clear. But we haven't seen yet, funnily enough, we haven't seen interviews in any volume for people that didn't have passports, where we're seeing whether they reject the cases at the interview or not. So I don't know for sure that they're going to reject your case. What I do know is that KCC seem to be slowing down processing for cases where people can't provide evidence of why they didn't have their their passport in the original entry, right? So it may just be that you never get an interview, or it may be that you're interviewed and then disqualified at interview for breaking the rules, which were so clear. I don't understand why you didn't follow the rules. But there is a small chance that maybe you'll be approved, right? I don't know. We'll know more over the next 2 or 3 months, I guess, right? I've been searching for 2022 and have my wife and son in the application. How many DS260s do you need to submit? Good question, Demo. Each person needs their own DS260. So if you're the principal winner, you have a DS260 and you list all of your family, right? Your spouse and your children. And then for each one of the derivatives that you want to go to America with you, they need their own DS260 as well. So your spouse needs one, your children need a DS260. You need to, do all of those and submit them at the same time. The DS260 is a one person, one form situation, right? So you need a DS260 for each person. Right, let's see. Being searched on DV Lottery, but the thing is, I uploaded a picture with blue background instead of white. Am I going to be eliminated? No, you won't be eliminated. Apparently, it was plain enough that it made through their error checking, and so you're already past the point where they would have eliminated you if the background was bad enough that it was going to cause denial. Okay, so no, stop worrying. Case number is 56 and above. What's your chance? Do you mean 56,000 or do you mean 56? Do you mean there are 55 numbers in front of you? I don't know the year, I don't know the region, and I think you probably mean 56,000, which would suggest Africa, but I don't really know because you're not being clear. So Master Ones, help me help you, be a little bit more clear, please. Hossam, do you think large numbers of plaintiffs, thousands, maybe impact the Morrison's case? Can a small group of people from another embassy? I don't know. Lots of speculation about what will happen and whether it will work for this embassy and that embassy, and I don't know. I don't know how to, asking me to predict every single thing is not really productive. They're just guesses, right? There's no, think about whether I would have any technical, logical information that would help me answer that question. I don't have any more information than you, right? So I don't know. If you are to advise me, which of the lawsuits would you suggest for me to join right now? Only one is open. Curtis Morrison's is open. That's it. The Go case is closed. They're not taking any more applicants at the time being. So pretty clear. How to make the DV fee payment when you're in the US? When you have a visa, they tell you to pay the fee either before you travel or just you can actually pay after you travel. I recommend paying just before you travel, a couple of days before you travel, right? Don't pay for it a month or two before you travel because who knows what's going to happen. But you pay that online, and with your visa package, they tell you how to go into the online system to pay that. It's called a system called Ellis. So that's how you do it. Plaintiff in Go, already answered that. Massin Nissa, if we win the Go case, judgment will be by end of July. Can we see 2NLs sent for August or September and even in September? If the Go case is won, and it's won in July, let's say, they will take special measures, I believe. The judge will tell the government, here's a list of people, named plaintiffs. I want to report every 2 weeks on what you're doing on those people, name by name. Right, and so they will take special measures because the normal thing is that interviews in September are receive their 2NLs in July, mid-July typically, possibly late July, but there's normally that sort of time period. So if, for example, we get the Go case through or any of the cases, the Rye case or whatever, if those cases are approved but only in late July, I think they'll take special measures to get those people interviewed by the end of September. That's what I think would happen, right? But again, it'll be a tight timeline, just like we had last year. But last year, we got 7,000 cases processed almost with it between September 4 and September the 4th and September 30th. So they can move fairly fast if they're told to do so. Although I have to point out, I don't think the lawyers really understand this. Many of those 7,000 were not cases that KCC suddenly had to operate on, right? They were already at the embassy, which is why we were able to get so many through. But if we have that information late July, early August, that would be okay. They would have time to set that up, right? Laura says, I won and I'm changing my status from F1 to a green card. Do I file an I-765 with my I-485? The 765 is an EAD, I believe, right? Now, I would say I'm not an expert on adjustment of status. I did it for my own case, funnily enough, but I don't specialize in it. It's a complicated process, and I don't specialize in it. So let me give you a link here where there is an expert on DV lottery adjustment of status, and she is the absolute expert, better than any lawyer on DV lottery-based adjustment of status. So I'm going to put in the links right now. I'm going to put that link. That should hopefully be going through, and in the very first post of that link I've just put in the chat, there's the very first post is written by someone called Someone's Mum, right? And that's a user. She's a lady I know personally, fantastic person. She does all of this pro bono, same thing I've been doing for years, and she is the best resource that you could possibly have. In the first post of that link I've just showed you there's a link to a spreadsheet where she clearly lays out the differences between consular processing, adjustment of status, what forms you have to fill in, how you have to do it, the whole thing. Right, so go study that and you'll know everything you need to know, Laura. Okay, that link is like gold. It's worth money, but I'm not going to charge you for it, neither does she. Bruce Lee. I don't know. I've got the humor of a 7-year-old boy. But anyway, whatever. The U.S. Embassy in Taiwan is operating. We handled the pandemic very well. I know. But the highest case number they have scheduled is around AS 5,500. Should I change to AS Part 2? What you mean Part 2 is you're going to ask me the same question I already answered. Again, I don't know. Same answer I gave before. I am winner. I don't have a sponsor in the USA. What can I do if I show them my bank statement correct or incorrect? Generally speaking, when you go for your interview, the consular officer is required to assess whether you're going to be a public charge or not, whether financially you can afford to support yourself in the USA. You can overcome that suspicion or that concern. They are allowed to deny you on that concern. If they think that you're going to become a public charge, they are allowed to and required to deny you, right? So the ways to get around that is you can either show them that you've got personal savings, thousands of dollars, at least $10,000 per person. You can show them that, or you can get a form completed by someone in the USA that is prepared to say they will assist you. And the form is called the I-134. I've written about that on my blog. It's in the frequently asked questions section. Go read that there. And my recommendation for all people is to have some thought put in on how you're going to overcome that suspicion. There are some embassies where the question of finances doesn't come up very often because it's just assumed everybody, going through those interviews, for example, Sydney rarely asks about Sydney in Australia, rarely asks candidates about money because, frankly, Australians are wealthy generally compared to the international average. They're resourceful, well-educated, they speak English, and there's lots of Aussies all over couches all over America, right? They're used to it, right? So in Sydney Embassy, they know people from Australia will figure it out. If you're from a poor country in Africa, they may see things differently. The CEO may see things differently. So, so you need to think about that, and everyone should think about it. Even if I was going to Sydney Embassy, which I know rarely, if ever, ask questions about money, I would go prepared. I would have bank statements on hand. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Right? Okay. Right. Scan through a few more questions. I need to sort of end this fairly soon. NT Living. My case number is AF79XX, but you haven't told me the year. Right? Okay, let's see if I can understand it from what you're saying. I will be interviewed in Kenya, but I've seen high case numbers unknown. Okay, so I'm assuming a DV2021 then. What should I do? Is it normal? There is no normal at the moment, NT leaving. It's a mess. It's chaos. I told you this would happen. I told everyone this would happen. This is a mess. DV2021 is royally screwed up because nothing's working right. KCC are not working right. The embassies are not working right. They're not scheduling enough interviews. Not all the embassies are open. It's a mess. I can't predict anything. And it really doesn't have much to do with your case number anymore. It's just luck. Just dumb, stupid luck, which is annoying as hell. It shouldn't be like this. And it frustrates the hell out of me. It makes me angry. Because normally I can tell you what to do. You know, you can tell me your situation and I can tell you what to do to fix the problem. And right now I can't tell you what to do that will fix the problem, because the problem, you know, I can tell you what to do and you can try and do that, but the problem's still going to continue. It's going to be luck whether you get an interview or not. Very, very annoying and frustrating for me, I can tell you. I mean, and obviously it's worse for you guys. I fully appreciate that. Hi, so my country should have interviewed another country. How can I know their details? If you mean that you're in one of these countries where that country's embassy is not open, or, you know, not performing interviews, and you have to go to another country, you can find out, you know, once you're scheduled, you can find out which country and you can read the instructions for that embassy, so that you'll know all the details about, you know, how they do things. You'll have to have, for example, you'll have to have your medical in that country at a physician in that country. You'll have to meet whatever documents or requirements they have, but that's all in the instructions. You just read the instructions. Shamara says, what's the best possible outcome in favor of plaintiffs? Getting visas. It's clear, isn't it? Okay. Okay, I had F1, did my MBA in LA. During that time, I earned money and paid my taxes. Is that a problem? If you were not supposed to do that according to the terms of your F1, for example, you went off campus and worked and that sort of thing, you know, yes, it can cause a problem. Generally doesn't represent a problem for consular processing, but it could represent a problem for adjustment of status. That was a silly thing to do. You know, if that's what you did. Silly. Okay, Vladimir, I was selected for 2022. Number is EU 1000. Is there any chance to get visa? Yes. Low case number. Good for you. So yes, you've got a chance. Obviously, there's lots of chaos happening because of you know, because of COVID and because of all the embassy closures and all that. But you've got a very low number. So yeah, you've got a good chance. Do you know how many plaintiffs there are on the Go lawsuit? Thank you. I don't know the precise numbers, no. But I think between that case and the Curtis Morrison case, there could be thousands of people actually, you know, on cases by the time it's all finished, because Curtis Morrison is, he's got a good infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, a good way to onboard clients. And he's going to onboard as many people as he possibly can, right? And you only pay a small portion of the fee to Curtis Morrison up front, and it's affordable for a lot of people. So so he could get a lot of people. And, you know, at some point, the number of people on the lawsuit becomes too many to actually give them advantage. If suddenly 20,000 people signed up with Curtis Morrison, it would cause a problem of its own making, right? You guys are not serious. Shake my head. Mr. Robert, I'm going to answer this question, but please don't keep repeating the bloody questions. I saw you were doing that earlier. Hi, Simon. Thank you for your time. You're welcome. I have a few more questions. One, do I need a hard copy of birth certificate with me, or passport will be enough? You will need your birth certificate and your passport, and possibly, you know, you might need translations and other documents too. You need to read the instructions, but yes, you will need that. You need the hard copy. You also should take, by the way, to an interview, you should take a copy of your important documents. You have to give them documents, right? You have to give them the passport, for example, but you give them the birth certificate. If you don't give them a copy of the birth certificate, they will keep your original, right? I've had people ask me, you know, I went for my interview last week, they took that birth certificate from me, and, you know, when will they send it back? And the answer is they won't send it back. You've lost it because you didn't take the copy. So yes, you have to take the hard copy. You have to take the original hard copy with you, but you should also take a photocopy as well. Question number 2 is case number 18XX. What's the chance? Pretty good. It's a low number, so you've got plenty of chance. Yeah, I got that. You're not supposed to make money on F1 visa. Yeah, exactly. So you know you've caused your own problem. I don't know what, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say really. You know, you sign some papers saying you're going to behave yourself and you're going to do the right things, and then you don't. And then later you ask, is that going to cause a problem? Yeah. You know, I've got 4 kids and 6 grandkids, and they're all very clear. If I set some rule and they break the rule, they're going to have a problem. Why don't you understand that? I don't know. Elias says, I'm a 2021 winner, AF19K. What now? You haven't received an email. What's going on? What's going on is a complete mess that's going to cost a lot of people their visas. You may or may not get lucky. You will only get lucky if your documents are processed. If your documents are not processed, you're not going to get an interview. If your documents are processed, you might get an interview. That's all I can say, really. My passport expired in February, and it's the one I applied with. What should I do now, please? I applied for a new one. That's fine, Belkef. So when you fill in your forms, you'll use the new passport, I presume, for the DS260. You'll have to send your old passport or a copy of your old passport and the new passport when you send your documents. And then when you go for the interview, you should have both with you. So keep a copy of your old passport because that's what you entered the lottery with, right? So you have to prove that it was it was valid. Daniel's going to say that DV2021 is almost finished and worst year ever. Yeah, it's a sucky year. 2020 was bad as well. But, you know, my mum died and in the last few months. You know, life sucks sometimes. That's what happens. Shouldn't have happened, but it did. So, okay, Mr. Robert, you're going to ask lots of questions again. Drive us all nuts. I'm asking stupid questions if you're not answering lols. Very good, Noen. Okay. Yeah. Are you saying that I only seem to answer stupid questions? DV2021, I'm from Iran. Case number 12,100, not current yet. Anchor and embassy not working. Ask KCC to change my place to Yerevan. No reply yet. To be frank, is there any chance for me to get a visa? To be frank, not much chance. Lots of people are going to miss out. They're going to waste 40,000 visas. It's a complete mess. You know, the lawsuits are important for that reason. I play with my grandchild. Will it be a problem? What? Okay, so I'm going to pretend that I'm not thinking what I'm thinking. I think what you mean is you entered the DV lottery and listed your grandchild as your child. Yeah, that would be a problem. What have you been selected? You know, so you lied, right? Let's be honest. You lied, pretending where it said fill in the number of children, you deliberately lied and put your grandchild in there. If you lie to the government, what do you think the government does? Do you think that they just say, oh, don't worry? Or do you think there's going to be some consequences? Of course there's going to be consequences. You'll be disqualified. It's not brain surgery. You know. Alex, why doesn't KC work as it should? They didn't risk pandemic at all processing documents remotely. Everybody working remotely nowadays. Yeah. I can't answer for KCC. I don't understand why they didn't organize things better. Makes me sad, makes me angry, but you know, I don't know. What can I say? Okay. Okay, so here's an interesting question, Antonio. So you had your interview, and then they say that for some technical issues they can't print it. Do I know something about this? Yes. I have heard this from a lot of people, and generally most of the information I can get is when lots of people report the same thing to me, and I can read into that I'm seeing it from various places, therefore I know it's true. It's not just you. So if you were telling me that, and I had not heard anyone else say that, then I would think, okay, it's something to do with your case. But in reality, yes, I've heard lots of other people say the same thing from different embassies in different parts of the world, no doubt. So yes, there seems to be some sort of systemic problem in printing the visas. So don't worry, you just have to be a bit patient, okay? Is there a way that you can make a specific embassy schedule and ask KCC for specific case numbers to be interviewed? No, not really, Mike. KCC control that. It's not up to the embassies to ask. So no, not really. There isn't a way you can do that. I live abroad and my passport is expired since the end of 2020, and because of the epidemic, couldn't get back to renew it. I get an extension of beginning of 2021. Okay, there's no question there. It's just a story. So I don't know what you're asking. Case number is 2022 AF 55,000. Is there going to be any chance to get a visa? Plus, is the sponsor going to have me any hassle during the interview? I don't understand the second question. Is there going to be any hassle? There's no hassle. Have you got a chance to get a visa? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if that's a high number or not. I don't know if how high the numbers go. I don't know how many selectees they've got. We don't know, right? So you're going to have to wait and see, and it'll be a couple of months before we know more. Okay. All documents should be translated into English, ? So it depends where you're interviewing. Documents you have that are either in the local official language of the embassy where you're interviewing are acceptable, or they can be in English, right? And if they're not in the local official language, then you should get them translated. And it is wise to get them translated into English. So, all right. The translator can be anybody. It shouldn't be a family member. It shouldn't be yourself, but it should be anybody. It doesn't have to be a professional translator. Hardy says, "Can I include my minor siblings or my parents? I'm the lottery winner." No, you can't. You can't do that. So you're going to have to leave your mummy and daddy alone, and your brothers and sisters. You're not going to be able to take them with you. Okay. So, and if you don't think you can cope with that, then don't proceed with the process, because that's what it's going to be. You're not going to be able to bring your family members, right? The only family you can take through the DV lottery program is a spouse, your own husband or wife, and your children. That's it, right? Izaf says, I lived in the USA for 6 years. Do I have to submit police clearance from there to KCC? No police clearances for the USA. That's actually clearly pointed out in the instructions. You should read the instructions. Barat, I did cover this earlier. Antonio says it's the embassy in Romania, Bucharest, and I don't know which question you're referring to. Sorry, Antonio. Oh, sorry. I do know what you're talking about. I do remember I answered your question. I can't remember it now. Sorry, a bit confused with that one there. And I'm looking at other questions here too. Right. Okay, so would you think that Curtis Morrison can potentially have the final hearing by the end of 2022? Is that somehow facetious? Are you being funny? I certainly bloody hope so. End of 2022? That's the end of next year? Yeah, I hope so. Okay. Is there that some countries don't get selectees? A case in point, Uganda. That's not true. Uganda gets selectees. There are some countries that are not allowed to participate in the lottery, but for other countries where they can participate, the chance of selection is the same across the whole region. It doesn't matter about, there's no country selections as such. So, so sometimes you'll see one country has a very low number of selectees, and it simply means they had a very low number of entries. So if you look at Ghana, for example, over 1 million people from Ghana will enter the lottery, which is a huge portion of the overall entries. So they will get a lot of selectees. If Uganda don't have a lot of entries, they won't get a lot of selectees. That's how it works. It's just random. Okay, so let's read about this one. JM says, my daughter, she's 20 years old in August, and now she's in university in the UK. Should we increase her in our application to DW 2023? Or maybe she can do the application herself. If she's under 21 at the time of entry, you have to include her in your entry. But she could also apply for herself, yes. So she would be your derivative and have her own entry. So it's sort of 2 chances to win. Okay, last couple of questions. Let me just try and pick a couple of good questions. I'm Cuban. I haven't had a question from a Cuban for a little while. Let me answer that one. And very pretty Cuban too, frankly. I'm Cuban with a family of 3 with case number 4000 SA. Are you 2022? Documents okay. I will have a chance to get it to interview in August. Thanks for the great job. Eddie, I don't know for sure whether you'll get a chance or not. So 4,000 is a relatively high number in South America. And there are challenges. If you're Cuban, it depends whether you're actually in Cuba or whether you're somewhere else. It's going to be tough. But to be honest, I just can't predict. I can't predict the chances of individual cases. And everything's so messed up right now. I can't predict. Your guess is as good as mine. I wish I could answer that more clearly. But I'm sorry. Lo siento, no puedo. Okay. Basha Sharif. Why should I keep my confirmation number till September? I explained earlier that there is sometimes a second draw, a small amount of additional selectees added to the pot that happens in some years, not every year, some years. And so that's why they tell you to keep your confirmation number, and then you should check again in October. Okay, one more question. Let me see. Angela, my ex-wife is called Angela, so that's why I picked your question here. My sister is the winner of DV Lottery 2021. There was not an answer from Kentucky. Can you tell us what to do? My answer to 2021 people is consistently go through the process, right? Submit your documents. Ask them whether your documents are processed, whether they're satisfied with your documents or not. Make sure your documents are processed. Get that ready for scheduling interview, ready for interview email if you can. In many cases, that's going to be a frustrating round and round and round process. They're not going to give you straight answers. But for some cases, that might help, right? I'm just telling people to go through the process as best as they can, but there is no magic solution I can give to anybody. And that's why some people are considering the lawsuits and being involved in the lawsuits, because it might improve your chances. So, by all means, go and check the lawsuits out, okay? Okay. Oh, this is, sorry, maybe one more question here. How much time do I have to fill out the DS260? So I'm assuming you're a DV2022 case. People will still be filling out the DS260 for many months from now. Not everybody needs to rush to send it today. In previous years, I've actually asked people to not send in their DS260 too quickly, because you need to figure out whether your case number is going to be too high to be processed and that sort of thing. So you can fill it out now, or you can wait a few months. There's no particular deadline. However, you should not be planning to send it much past about May of next year at the latest. So if you want to delay your process, you can do by sending in your DS260 late. But don't send it much later than April or May at the very latest, right? Because you won't have chance to process it. Okay. All right, everybody. I hope that was useful. I'm glad to have taken a few questions from all sorts of cases, 2022s, 2021s, and 2020s. I did talk about DV2020 and DV2021 primarily at the beginning of this video. So if you joined late and you didn't hear me talking about that, then just go back, rewind the video, go back to the beginning, and you'll hear me talk about those years. If you're DV2022, congratulations on winning. I hope this is going to be a better year for 2022 than it has been for 2020 and 2021. It's been a horrible time for those 2 years. I think some of the impacts are going to continue for DV 2022, but I really hope things get a bit better for everybody, frankly. Let's wait and see. Hope so. All right, everybody, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. And please let your friends know about the channel too. Let's get the word out there. I've mentioned before, there's a channel, drives me nuts. There's this other guy who's got a big following. He just pumps out endless videos, absolute nonsense, talks about DV lottery and pulls information out the air, and it's absolute crap. But he's got 50,000 followers or something, and it just strikes me that bad information that is out there is what people are listening to. It's like it worries me because he just talks some absolute crap. He really does, and I've pointed it out to him directly before in the past. So please push my channel, subscribe to my channel, let your friends know. Let's get good information out there, not the complete nonsense that comes from other people. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. And we'll check in a couple of days' time. I'll do another live. All right. Bye-bye now.